Breaking news on BTN Live this morning that Georgia quarterback Justin Fields is expected to transfer to Ohio State. And actually, Fox's Bruce Feldman is on the line with us to talk more about that because, Bruce, you're reporting this story. And let's just start with, what do you know right now?
Well, at least from my reporting, Justin Fields is expected to transfer to Ohio State. He's on campus today, and the plan is that he would begin classes next week. So a couple things to keep in mind here. I mean, obviously, this is a huge get for Ryan Day. A lot of people thought he's the best quarterback prospect to come out of high school in the last 5 years. He had worked out in the offseason a little bit in Atlanta with private quarterback coach Quincy Avery, who had Deshaun Watson, but he also had Dwayne-Haskins. So he has a pretty good relationship with Haskins, and I think he has a really good sense, from what I'm told, of what it's like at Ohio State, what it's like to play for Ryan Day, and obviously Dwayne-Haskins had a huge year this season, so I think that's appealing to Justin Fields.
And it's interesting because he's from Georgia and obviously then would be going to Columbus. So I think the first question that, out of what you just talked about in reporting this news, what does this mean then about Dwayne-Haskins, who as of right now has not made a decision on whether he'd be staying in Columbus or not?
Well, I would be very surprised if Dwayne-Haskins decided to come back for another year at Ohio State. From talking to some old NFL personnel people, they think Dwayne-Haskins is a top 5 pick. He's that good. Now, it probably wouldn't hurt him development-wise for another year in college, but his stock is sky high right now, and there's so much appeal for quarterbacks. As one person who has spent a long time in the NFL told me, if Jared Goff was the #1 pick in the draft, Dwayne-Haskins definitely has more talent than that. And so people are very excited about him, but I suspect you'll get some kind of announcement from Dwayne-Haskins maybe in the next 48 hours about what his future is. But I'd be very surprised if he decides to come back to Columbus, given how high his stock is among NFL people right now.
So in going back to Fields, you mentioned that he's become familiar with the Ohio State program and Ryan Day. Ryan Day officially just now a few days on the job as head coach. What does this say about him to pick up this quarterback?
Well, I think it's a little bit of a shift in how I think pro-style quarterbacks are going to look at Ohio State. Certainly Urban Meyer had a ton of success as a coach. I mean, he's a Hall of Fame coach with his record is off the charts. But, you know, a lot of his success was with dual-threat quarterbacks, whether it was with Braxton Miller or J.T. Barrett or Tim Tebow. I think what you look at, now certainly some of Urban Meyer coached Alex Smith, who was the first pick in the draft. He had him at Utah. But I think when people see what Ryan Day took with a guy who was unproven, albeit with a great arm, and how he developed Haskins, I think that's going to be a big appeal for a lot of guys going forward. And I think it's more than just, hey, the dual threat guys are going to look in Columbus now. I think you're going to see, because quite honestly, for as great as Ohio State's been, it's not like it has had this, you know, USC-like track record of NFL quarterbacks. And so I think we may be seeing a little bit of a shift in that, and how pro-style quarterbacks look at the Buckeyes program.
Breaking news this morning, as it appears that Justin Fields will be headed to Ohio State. What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and there's a lot to talk about in this video. How does this affect Georgia? How does this affect Ohio State? What does this mean for Justin Fields? We're going to talk about all of those things. I'm going to try to make this video as brief as I possibly can. I don't really know how long it's going to be because, again, there's a lot to talk about. So let's first start with the fact that Justin Fields chose Georgia to begin with, something that seemed a little strange to most people. We knew that he really probably would not have a chance to beat Jake Fromm, so he was going to have to sit for 2 years. But that would still give him 2 years of eligibility left, and, you know, anywhere he went, he was probably going to have to compete, anywhere as far as the top contenders go. I mean, there may have been some higher level schools that he could have started right away, but for the most part, probably going to have to sit at least 1 year. But yes, at Georgia, he's going to have to sit 2 years. And again, I don't think anyone really expected him to beat Jake Fromm. And he announced a few weeks ago that he was, or I don't know if he announced it, but word came that he was putting his name in the transfer portal. Might still stay at Georgia, might transfer, but when you saw him not play in the Sugar Bowl, that pretty much told the story. That let us know that he was not going to be at Georgia next year. So he goes, and now he's going to transfer to Ohio State. What does this tell us? First of all, I think it tells us that Dwayne-Haskins is going to the NFL. He will be gone. I do not see Justin Fields going there if he was going to have to compete with Dwayne-Haskins, someone who's just set a ton of records at Ohio State this season, a Heisman contender. There was no way Justin Fields was going to beat him out. So I don't see him going there. And I actually read something yesterday that already was suggesting that Dwayne-Haskins had made his decision. I don't think that's officially come out, so I don't want to report something that's not 100% accurate, but I feel very, very confident, 95% sure that Dwayne-Haskins is going to be going to the NFL and entering to the draft this season. By the time you see this video, that may actually already be out, and he may have announced it or whatever. But as of this recording, and I'm still in the morning hours on Friday, he has not announced that. But we assume he's going to be going. So, Justin Fields goes to Ohio State. Will he even be the starting quarterback? Some very interesting quotes from Tate-Martell as he's talked about this situation. And I will, if I don't forget, I'll put a link to this video on this video so you can go and check it out and see exactly what he said. But he posted on Twitter on December 21st, word of advice, don't swing and miss, especially not your second time. And there were some people saying that this was meant to go to Justin Fields because rumors were starting to swirl that Fields could be headed to Ohio State. Others said maybe it was Shea Patterson because Shea Patterson decided to come back, and maybe he was saying that to him, talking about don't swing and miss your second time. That would be a second time playing Ohio State. I think most people, though, think that this was to Justin Fields, and that's what I personally think. But he said some other things. They asked if he would be the starting quarterback next season if Dwayne-Haskins were to go to the NFL. He said, I will. I'm 100% sure on that. And then they asked about what Ryan Day had said about the quarterback's situation. He said, we're going to have to get 4 guys in this room one way or another. We have to have some depth.